Imagine waiting in line for coffee, your flight, customer support, a doctor's appointment, a theme park, a new product launch. It feels like wasted time. But what if waiting isn't a failure? What if sometimes it's the product itself? Because in today's economy, time isn't just money, it's inventory. Most people assume every company wants to eliminate waiting entirely. Faster service means happier customers, right? Not always. Some companies spend millions of dollars trying to shrink wait times down to nothing. Others design them carefully on purpose, because not every minute of waiting has the same value. Here's the first thing most people never think about. Waiting can actually create demand instead of destroying it. Psychologists have a simple name for this: social proof. If a restaurant has a line stretching out the door, most people don't think this place is slow. They think, if everyone else is waiting, it must be worth it. Luxury brands have understood this for decades. Certain handbags, certain sneakers, certain product launches are deliberately kept scarce, specifically so the wait itself becomes part of the appeal. Apple has run this exact playbook for years. People camping outside stores overnight for a phone they could simply order online the next morning without waiting at all. The line itself is the marketing. A line isn't just an inconvenience. It's free advertising, standing right there in public, visible to everyone walking past. Now here's where it gets genuinely mathematical. Most people assume eliminating a line is simply a matter of hiring more staff. It isn't. And understanding why reveals something almost every service business quietly wrestles with. Ever wonder why McDonald's often arranges its front counter into several short lines instead of one single long one, even though a single line is mathematically more efficient? It's not about speed, it's about how the wait feels. A single long snaking line looks intimidating from the door. Several short lines look manageable, even if the average wait time ends up being identical either way. Supermarkets play a similar game, just in reverse. Ever notice how a store with 20 checkout lanes usually only has 4 or 5 actually staffed, even during a moderately busy afternoon? That's not neglect, that's a calculated decision. Keeping every single lane staffed at all times, just in case of a rare rush, would mean paying for enormous amounts of idle labor most of the day. So instead, most retailers deliberately understaff slightly, accepting a small predictable wait, because the alternative, full staffing around the clock, is often the single most expensive option available. Hospitals face an even stranger version of this same problem. You book an appointment for 2 o'clock. You still end up waiting 40 minutes in the lobby. That's not incompetence either. Medical appointments vary wildly in length. A 5-minute checkup and a 40-minute complex consultation get scheduled into identical time slots, because nobody knows in advance which one they're about to get. To eliminate that unpredictability completely, a hospital would need enormous amounts of unused buffer time, all day, every day, which is simply too expensive to justify. There's a blunt way to summarize all of this. Eliminating every wait completely is often the single most expensive service a business could possibly offer. So if waiting can't be fully eliminated, the next best strategy is controlling how it feels. And this is where things get genuinely fascinating. In 1984, a researcher named David Maister wrote a short paper. It quietly became one of the most influential documents in modern service design, called The Psychology of Waiting Lines. His central discovery was simple, but it explains an enormous amount of the world around you. The actual length of a wait matters far less than how that wait feels. One of his most important findings: an uncertain wait feels dramatically longer than a known, finite one, even when the actual time is identical. Tell a patient the doctor's running exactly 30 minutes late, and they settle in, mildly annoyed, but calm. Tell that same patient the doctor will be right with you, with no actual estimate, and they spend the entire time anxious, unable to relax. Once you understand this single principle, you start noticing it everywhere. That's why elevator lobbies in many buildings have mirrors installed directly across from the elevator doors. People check their reflection, occupy a few seconds of attention, and the wait feels shorter, even though the elevator arrives at exactly the same moment either way. That's why airport monitors constantly display live, updating gate information and boarding countdowns. It's why supermarket deli counters hand out numbered tickets instead of just saying, "We'll call your name." A visible number, ticking closer to yours, transforms an uncertain wait into a countable, finite one. Even progress bars on your computer screen exist for exactly this reason, a discovery IBM researchers stumbled onto back in 1985. Users staring at a blank screen during a 10-second delay rated the computer as broken. Users watching a moving bar during that exact same 10-second delay rated the computer as fast. Nothing about the actual process changed. Only what people could see. Once companies understood that waiting could be shaped, engineered, and made to feel shorter, the next logical step was even more direct. If people are going to be standing there anyway, why not sell to them while they wait? Walk through any Disney theme park and queue lines wind deliberately past gift shops, themed photo opportunities, and snack stands positioned exactly along the path to the ride. IKEA takes this even further architecturally. The entire store is designed as one single, forced winding path with almost no shortcuts back to the exit, ensuring you pass through nearly every department and nearly every impulse purchase opportunity before you're allowed to leave. Airports do the exact same thing, positioning duty-free shops and restaurants directly along the route from security to your gate. Casinos design their layouts around the same idea. Starbucks lines its checkout counter with small, cheap, high-margin snacks positioned precisely at eye level while you wait for your drink. The waiting area itself has quietly become retail space. You're not just waiting anymore. You're shopping whether you meant to or not. Which brings us to something genuinely striking. Companies eventually discovered something even more valuable than simply selling snacks to a captive audience. They could sell people a way out of the line entirely. For years, Disney's Fast Pass system let guests skip long ride queues completely for free, simply by planning ahead. That changed. Today, that system has been replaced by a paid option called Lightning Lane. Skipping the standby line now costs real money, sometimes well over $100 per person for a single day at the busiest parks. Universal Studios runs a nearly identical paid system called Express Pass. Airports sell priority security lanes through programs like TSA PreCheck and Clear, letting travelers pay an annual fee specifically to walk past everyone else in the standard line. Airlines have built entire additional revenue streams around priority boarding, letting passengers pay extra purely for the privilege of sitting down a few minutes sooner. Business class itself, at its core, is partly a very expensive way of paying to skip lines. Security, boarding, baggage, that economy passengers simply have to stand in. Companies discovered something remarkable. They could charge people not for a better product, but simply for not waiting at all. The queue didn't disappear from the digital world either. It just moved online, and in some ways became even more visible than ever. Ticketmaster uses virtual waiting rooms specifically to manage massive traffic spikes when high-demand tickets go on sale, holding potentially millions of buyers in an orderly digital line rather than crashing the entire website at once. Cloud computing companies do something remarkably similar. When demand for specialized computing hardware spikes, customers get placed into a reservation queue, waiting their turn for capacity being carefully rationed behind the scenes. Even AI chatbots have occasionally used similar systems during periods of overwhelming demand, placing users in a virtual line before granting access. Steam downloads, game server queues during a hit new release, even that small please wait spinner that appears the instant you open certain apps. Nearly all of it follows the exact same underlying psychology Maister identified back in 1984, just rebuilt for screens instead of physical lobbies. And this is where the real twist of this entire story lives. Increasingly, companies aren't only monetizing the product you're eventually waiting for. They're monetizing you during the exact moments in between. Waiting creates something genuinely rare in modern life. Uninterrupted attention with nowhere else to go and nothing else demanding your focus. That's precisely when the ads appear. When the recommendation algorithm makes its pitch. When the push notification lands. When a cross-sell offer shows up right as you're already standing there, already engaged, already captive. Even social media itself is quietly built around tiny, repeating moments of waiting. That brief pause while a feed refreshes. That short pull to refresh gesture. Each one is a small, deliberately engineered waiting room, specifically designed to hold your attention just a little longer before delivering the next reward. So what happens next as all of this keeps evolving? Artificial intelligence is already starting to shrink certain kinds of waiting. faster customer service responses, predictive systems that route people more efficiently, smarter, dynamically adjusted queue management running quietly behind the scenes. But at the very same time, it's creating brand new categories of waiting and brand new ways to charge you out of them. Dynamic pricing increasingly applies not just to flights and hotel rooms, but to the queue itself. Prices for priority access rising automatically the moment demand and the line gets longer. Premium memberships across dozens of industries increasingly promise the exact same core benefit, regardless of the product attached to them. You don't wait like everyone else does. Time itself has quietly become a luxury good, priced dynamically, sold separately, and increasingly available to anyone willing to pay for it. The future probably isn't a world with no waiting left in it at all. It's a world where waiting simply has a price tag attached, and where paying that price becomes its own small, quiet status symbol. So go back to that opening question. You probably thought waiting was simply a sign that something had gone wrong somewhere. But for a remarkable number of companies, waiting was never actually the problem. It's part of the business model. Every line, every loading screen, every queue, every recorded voice saying, "Please hold, your call is important to us," they're all quiet reminders of something most people rarely stop to think about. In modern business, the most valuable thing you actually own isn't your money. It's your time. And somewhere, someone has almost always found a way to profit from it.